This episode is a re-release of episode number 35, Crash Landing, which aired originally in March 2020.
My marriage fell apart, and then I was in a plane crash all within like 3 weeks.
This is the Abby Normal Podcast, here to tell you that you're weird, and that's normal. My friend Tamera is hard to categorize. She's sporty, gorgeous, confident, with a bit of a hippie vibe. She's always chill. If you listened to the lifeguarding episodes, you know Tamera from those reggae on the river and camping adventures. She's also a veteran Air Force major. And Tamera is really good at compartmentalizing her life. So even though we've been friends for a long time, we hadn't properly talked about a specific 3-week window in her life when she was a flight nurse in a war zone, and how all at once, everything in her life came crashing down. So this day, we sat on her couch real close, talking softly so we didn't wake her sleeping baby. And she told the story you get to hear, beginning with how she chose to be in the military. It's September 11th, 2001, and our little hippie is a freshman in college.
And I saw on the news, like news was playing in the living room, just like kind of out of the corner of my eye, I was like, oh shit, the plane hit a building. That's crazy. So I continue getting ready for school and like not really paying attention to what's happening. First class, the instructor was like, I'm going to let everybody go to the auditorium if you want to like watch the news, basically. So pretty much my whole class went in there and we're all like sitting in the auditorium, and then the second plane crash happens and everybody was like, was that from earlier? You know, that confusion that kind of everybody had.
Completely. You like don't understand that you're watching that live.
Yeah. So we're like, so everyone kind of starts to figure out, no, that really just happened again. And then it's just like phones start ringing, pagers start going off, right? And at the time, my brother, David, was in the Army. So I like left the auditorium. I left because my mom called me and said, your brother's being activated. He has to leave in like 24 hours.
Whoa.
To like go do military stuff. I was like, oh shit, that's crazy, you know? So after that, I kind of started considering the idea of, okay, like maybe I could join the military after college to just like do something to help, because I had always wanted to be like, I was more kind of a hippie when I was younger. You know?
So she decided to join ROTC at Fresno State University. You go through training, and then your junior year of college, you go to boot camp. But it's more of a pass or fail evaluation process. And if you pass, you become an officer. They pay for your college, and then you pay them back with your time.
So if you get like a 4-year degree, they pay for your 4-year degree, and then you serve 4 years as an officer. I mean, like they pay you, of course.
So you still get paid.
Yeah.
But you're committing to your 4 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did that, and then I graduated with the degree in nursing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to training. They have really good training. I think I was in Ohio for like 3 months. And then I got stationed at Travis
Air Force Base. So at what point do you pick, like, I want to be in the Air Force versus the Army versus?
So initially I like was going to go into the Army, and it's very different. So each branch of service has like a different way of doing things. I was at like an Army training, the middle of nowhere. It was like 2 a.m, 3 a.m. It's freezing cold, and I'm like outside on my belly with like a gun, guarding nothing. Nobody's coming. Nothing's happening. And I was like, man, I want to be a doctor. This is not for me. What am I doing here? I need to make better life choices. That's what I'm really What am I setting myself up to do here? That next week, I went to my commander, and I was like, I want to join Air Force ROTC. And my commander was just pissed. I think there's just like a rivalry there.
Okay,
you know?
okay.
They don't want you.
They don't want to lose you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Army at the time, like, I just remember like people in my unit kind of like talking down about the Air Force. There's kind of just like this running joke, like the Air Force is the chair force. It's like the easier version of things, you know?
That would make me be like, yeah, can I sign up for that then?
I don't want to. I don't want to like intentionally make things hard. And I felt like that's what was happening. I was like,
yeah.
why are we out here doing this? Like, let's not make it hard. Let's make it easier.
Right. So then how many years did you serve?
10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Once she joined the Air Force, Tamera got deployed as a nurse to Afghanistan. She was not ready, but she did have support.
When I deployed, I think I had just finished flight training. Within a year. I was still really new at it. The reason that the other nurse actually went with me instead of not going was because he was a colonel, and so he was like super experienced. He had deployed several times. Like since the war first kicked off, he had gone at least every 2 years. So this was like his 8th deployment or something crazy. And he was a little on edge because of that. But he was like, he actually held off his retirement to go on this deployment with me.
Wow.
Because he was like the person that recruited me into that unit. And so he was like to do me a favor, basically.
Wow.
So Tamera had been in Afghanistan for about 2 weeks and had a couple of runs under her belt. As a flight nurse, they would go pick up patients and bring them to a medical facility.
So you kind of gather everybody up and then you shuffle them to bigger hospitals because we're out in like the middle of nowhere.
The plane was set up like a giant ambulance.
You're in jump seat. It's not really a chair as much as like
what's a jump seat?
It's like a nylon piece of material on a metal frame, and it's like a bench seat all the way down the side of the plane. And then it's just got a lap belt. So we configure it into like a flying hospital. The center of the plane is all of the seats are removed, and then where there would be seats or whatever, like stretchers, basically, cots, 3 high with like all medical equipment on it. So it's like all defibrillators and anything you would need to like code somebody or save your life or deliver a baby or anything like that. You never know.
Wait, 2, 4, 6?
So three high, but then there's like one side and then another side. So 6 total in like one little stanchion there. And then there'd be several of those. So we'd have like all different equipment, because sometimes you'd have even more because you'd have ones that are empty for people to come in and lay on. Like patients would lay on those and travel like that. So there's 5 medical crew, 5 front end people, so the people that fly the plane. My partner, who's another nurse, he can talk to the front end crew. I can talk to all of the medical people, but we can't talk to each other. Like his headphone is connected to the plane and ours are all connected to each other. So I sit directly across from him so I can like take care of the patients and I can like hand signal and talk to him.
On this day, during their second run, something goes awry.
We were in Afghanistan flying into Fob Shank to pick up a couple patients. Shank is located in an area of Afghanistan where the runway is short. It's in kind of a valley and there's mountains on both sides. And so it's kind of difficult to land there. Plus, all of the landings in Afghanistan are like combat landings for the most part. So you kind of go in steep and fast. Like normal airplanes, you're kind of like at a gradual decline and then you land. And I think we had 2 patients on the plane at the time because we'd make multiple stops and pick people up. So this was like our second stop of the day. My patient was next to me and he could not use either of his arms. He was traveling back because of his accident the day before. So neither one of his arms worked. So of course we like help him to buckle his seatbelt when he gets in. Everything's fine. He says it's going to be a rough landing, but I'm like, homie, they're all rough landings. So I'm like, okay. So I just like hunker down, you know. They say it's going to be a hard landing. So I'm like, okay, it's going to be a hard landing. I tell everybody in the back and all the medical people, and they're like, okay, here we go. We're used to this now. we go down like we're gonna land. Everything, like you get used to just the feeling of everything. You do it so often. It's like, okay, I know this is how long it's going to take to land. This is how long it's going to take for the wheels to go up and all that stuff. We missed the first landing, and then he says that we're going to go around again. So we go down, we take off, and we do another lap. And then it's like, all right, now it's going to be rough. Like he looked kind of scared. We kind of jerk. And then next thing you know, there's a huge bump. Like, did we just hit something? Is there a speed bump on the airstrip? Like, what's going on? Huge bump to the point where all of my limbs flailed up and I like bit my tongue, and I bit it so hard that I felt like, oh shit, I need to make sure I don't bite my tongue off in this situation. So I like closed my mouth just to make sure I was like keeping my mouth closed so I wouldn't bite it again. And it was fast. It was like big bump and then yard sale. Everything is everywhere. I was holding on to the seat. Had I not been seatbelted in, I would have hit the ceiling. It was like the hardest jolt. As I'm being flailed across, I see my partner, who's like 6'2", 250, looks like a rag doll. Like he's strapped in, but his arms and legs are just like flying all over the place. Everything's flying everywhere. It's like, it looks like someone just shook up a snow globe and just poof, everything is everywhere and then crushed. It all happened fairly quickly. And so I was like, oh shit. After like everything kind of came to a stop, I was like, that was a rough landing. My partner across the way looks over at me and he says, there's a fire. So I just like get out of my seatbelt. I jump up and like run to where the fire extinguisher is. And as I'm doing that, it's like, I'm talking like I've taken 3 steps toward the back of the plane to get like, because that was the closest fire extinguisher to me. The front end crew, they have some that are actually in the back too, are running toward the front. And they're like, we gotta go, we gotta go. So I turn around and like grab my patient, unbuckle him. He's like stuck in there, like, can't get out. Everyone else is gone, like instantly gone.
No.
We can't open the back of the plane because the whole plane, like I didn't realize it at the time, but I was like, drop the, like open the back, like open the hatch. Nothing is opening. So everybody starts going up to the front of the plane and they're climbing out at the top.
Where is the fire?
So at this point, I don't know,
Okay.
right? Like I don't see anything. I don't know.
Okay.
You have to like climb a ladder to get out.
Right.
So my poor guy, I just like grabbed, like pushed him from the bottom onto the top of the plane. Yeah. And then I climbed out myself. And as I climbed out, I like stood up on top of the plane and I looked to the right. The whole right side of the plane is on fire. The right wing is like, it's like I'm standing on top of the plane and it looks like it's about 2 stories above me. But it was probably maybe 1.5 stories, realistically.
The flames, you mean?
Yes.
You're looking at 2 stories of flames.
It looks like that, but it was probably like 1.5 stories. I just remember like standing up and being like, just thinking, holy shit, like we have to get off this right now. It was just debris and stuff was raining down on us. Like my flight suit was just covered in fuel and just everything that was burning off of the plane at this point. So to get off the top of the plane, there's no ladder. So you take a rope and throw it out at the top, and then you have to rappel down the rope. And we're on top of this plane that's like, no.
I would be like, goodbye, I have lived a great life.
I'm just going to lay down here for now. Come and
Where
find me.
does the rope come from?
So it's secured to the inside of the plane,
Okay.
and then it comes out of the top and then goes down the side all the way to the bottom.
Where is the ladder? Why is there no ladder?
Because you're not supposed to go out that way. This is like emergencies only, right?
Okay.
So yeah, this is not like, okay, on a Tuesday, instead of going out of the side of the plane, we're just going to go out of the top. It was like,
Plan C.
Shit has hitteth the faneth.
She's standing on top of the plane with a patient who doesn't have working arms. Yes, she's scared, but now she feels fucking ready.
So this poor guy can't hold onto the rope. And
Oh my gosh, yeah, you're patient without arms or without working arms. Oh my God,
So
what'd you do?
I was like, I'm so sorry. We have to get off this plane right now. Like, stay as close to the plane as you can. And he's like, so I just like gently pushed him. So he would like slide down the side of the plane because there hopefully are at this point people down there. It was him.
You pushed him off the edge of the plane.
Yes. So then I rappel down. And
How do you feel when you're rappelling? What are you thinking?
I was like, man, I'm so good at this.
Are you serious?
I had been doing like a lot of CrossFit and stuff, and I know how douchey that makes me sound, but I was full on like I felt confident. I felt like good. Yeah, I felt like I had trained really well and I was like prepared.
That is so adorable.
I'm so tough. Look at me. Once I hit the ground, a couple of my crew members are full on like scooping this guy off the ground like a little sack of potatoes. I was down right after him. Like I pushed him and jumped. I just like picked him up and we just carried him to like a safe distance. And then we're all kind of gathering everybody. I mean, it's such a strange scene to see like an accident like that. People are crying. People are hurt. The whole scene was crazy. We're out in the middle of nowhere, it feels like, right? They call it a FOB, a forward operating base. And they're tiny. It's not like you have a base here in the United States where you would drive on and you think this is very secure and safe. No, FOB, you're like, is that a chain link fence? It seems like this is dangerous. And the buildings are Connex boxes or tent looking buildings, or just, it's crazy. So we like gather up all of our people, right? And we're like triaging them all and like making sure everybody's okay. And like one of the front end crew guys is kind of hurt. And I'm talking to one of my crew members and I'm like, all right, well, everybody's safe and blah, blah, blah. And he's just looking at me like, are you okay? And I was like, what? He was like, I think you're bleeding. And so I like feel my mouth, like, oh, I bit my tongue. And so I stick my tongue out. I was like, does it look bad? And he was all, oh. I pierced it. I like bit through the center of my tongue.
Oh.
So then I could, of course, like, then there's blood and I can kind of feel it. But I was like, it's fine. We looked pretty rough. Like the front end crew would take off their shirt, their outer shirt. So some people like didn't have their outer shirt. No one had their cover. And you're supposed to like always wear that when you're walking around and outside. And
meaning like your hat?
Your hat.
Okay.
Yeah. I started asking him like, where's the gate? Like, where's the fence? Does anybody have their weapons? Like we were supposed to carry our weapon everywhere we went. So I think in the chaos, several people didn't have it. And I was like, well, I have mine. I was like thinking to myself, how good of a shot am I? Like, if this is crazy, like if we're outside of the gate and someone comes to kidnap us or something like that, could I defend myself? Hopefully I could. And I'm thinking, does anybody know what just happened? Did the front end crew like tell anybody that we have now crashed? And is somebody coming?
Yeah.
Get us?
Is help on its way? Or
after a while, I think a fire truck actually showed up, ambulance and a fire truck, and they full on start putting out the fire. So just like you hear when you travel commercially, like leave everything and go, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have just like this random assortment of stuff. They put the fire out and I was like, I have some stuff on there. I need to get off that plane. Like it's very sensitive stuff like I'm responsible for and I need to keep track of. Like the plane is literally on fire. And I'm like, I need to get back in there. So once they put the fire out.
Excuse me, sir.
I full on did that. I went up to one of the firemen and I was like, hey, I said, the fire's out, right? And he was like, yeah. I was like, I need to get back on that plane. I got to grab some stuff. And he was all, but I said it like
authoritatively.
This is what we're going to do right now. Like, do you want to come with me or can I just run in there real quick? And he was like, oh, okay. And so I full on was like, hey, like there were a couple people around me. Let's go. And I ran on and like grabbed my backpack, which had like patient files and stuff in it. And whatever else. I think, I had an iPad mini And I've, since this happened, have been meaning to write a letter to like the OtterBox people, because my tiny little iPad made it through fire, a plane crash, and being like sprayed by whatever chemicals they use to put out fires, the firefighters. And it still works. Like to this day, is like
Oh my gosh.
almost 10 years.
Thank you,
Great.
OtterBox.
Great. Sponsor. So I run in, I'm like grabbing stuff, and I'm at this point, like anything I can carry. And one of the other firefighters, I'm sure someone that was a little higher up in the chain, was like, get off the plane now. Like, you can't, whoever, they're mad at the one that let me back. They're like, you can't be in here. So I like grabbed whatever I could and just ran back out. Then they took us to eat.
Like an In-N-Out or?
That doesn't exist there. No, they took us to like the chow hall, which is like a regular place where people eat. But the weird thing was they were like, don't talk to anybody. So this place is full of people. It looks like a cafeteria, like a school cafeteria, basically. I'm sure everybody knows what's going on, you know, like the gossip is spread, you know, super fast. And they see us just like come walking in with our like tattered uniforms and like a hair looks all mess. Everybody looks gross, whatever. And so everybody's just like, it gets totally silent in there. Like it's buzzing with chatter. And then we walk in and it's like, and then slowly people start to talk again. I just remember like we got ice cream and everybody was so excited. We were talking loud and we were all excited about like being able to eat ice cream. And then all of the logistics of everything kind of start to come into play. Like, how do we get back? Can we tell anybody what just happened?
What do we do now?
We had full physicals, like, pee in this cup. We're going to take your blood for everybody because they want to see, like, were you guys all high or what?
Right.
What happened on this plane? Or, like, was your oxygen low and the plane just, you know, you couldn't, some malfunction or who knows? So they do all of that stuff. We all get, like, medically cleared. And then we're just, like, sitting around in random pieces of whatever clothing they could find for us, like donation stuff, because, you know, people would be like, oh, let's send this over to the troops to, like, you know, cheer them up or whatever. And like, we're living off that stuff.
She was actually living at a base in Kandahar, in which she describes as a Connex box, which she shared with 1 to 3 other people.
But it was home.
Yeah. Home, sweet home.
So we ended up getting a ride like 24 hours later back. And it was just so strange. Like, we didn't know what we could say or not say, or I don't know. There's definitely not a lot of instruction on post-plane crash, like, etiquette. I don't know.
Yeah. Behavior.
Yeah. They didn't know that had happened to us. So when we got back, there was like nobody there to greet us. And then I think they gave us a week off, but they immediately put us in therapy. So
wow.
I was like full on deployed in Afghanistan, going to therapy 3 times a week.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it was good. I don't think everyone on my crew took advantage of it. My partner ended up actually trying to kill himself.
Mm-hmm.
And we medevaced him out of Afghanistan early. So then we flew.
This was the person that like recruited you and came to be with you?
Yeah.
Why do you feel like he struggled so much?
I think it was, he had seen things during the war that were much worse than what I saw. He told me a story about how he was on one of his deployments, the gate, which is just basically like the term for the surrounding part of the base. The gate was being attacked by people. And so they called for everyone on the base to go to the gate and basically prepare to shoot whoever was coming. And he's a nurse. He's not like, you know, an infantryman or someone that has like, it's a different mindset, I think. As nurses, we're trying to save people. And you don't really think that you're going to be trying to kill someone.
Yeah.
Even when I was there, we had a base attack where like Afghan soldiers that we had trained that are on the base, supposed to be like guarding the base, just started shooting people that were driving by on like the road inside the base. They ended up capturing that guy. it's scary over there. And we would fly into places where we're getting shot at.
That therapy that Tamera got because of the plane crash was actually a godsend because her personal life was a mess too.
Yeah, I mean, you got deployed in like the craziest time of your life.
I feel like
What happened there?
I am very, I can compartmentalize my life very well. And
It's like your area of expertise.
it's my superpower.
Yeah.
Like I've worked in the ER for, I don't know, 12 years now. And I'm not one of those people that like come home and cry about like the horrible things I saw.
Yeah.
Because you see and deal with people on like what could be and very likely is the worst day of their life. And that could just be one of the 50 people you see that day. And it happens all the time. And I think I just have that ability to kind of shut down parts of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I full on had an affair and then got caught and then went to Afghanistan in the same week.
Yep. 5 days before she was due to deploy, her husband found out about the infidelity and the shit hit the fan.
So were you able to just like, okay, like mentally I'm going to shut this door on like my marriage and my life in California and just focus on being a flight nurse in Afghanistan now?
I mean, it sucked. It really sucked. All I wanted to do at that point, even like the moment he found out, all I wanted to do was fix my marriage. I didn't want to like continue seeing that person or anything.
Really?
Like I wanted that part of my life to just have disappeared and never have happened. Like, I regretted it so much. But I, like I couldn't, because I left so suddenly, I couldn't really do anything other than like hope that he would call me or try to email me, like, and it's not like you have a cell phone over there. There's no texting.
Wow.
It's like email only. And then phone calls, and he didn't want to talk to me. So he was cool enough to like pack my stuff up and put it in the garage instead of like burning it on the front lawn, which is like what most people I'm sure would want
Like
to
nice
do.
of him.
Yeah. And then when the plane crash happened, I'd only been there for 2 weeks. So it was like my marriage fell apart, and then I was in a plane crash all within like 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
And my mother-in-law at the time was like amazing. She was amazing. She was when literally the first day that all that stuff went down and he like found out about everything, he took my phone and he left. And I was like, I have no way of calling him. I don't know where he just went. Like, so I just went to her house and I just told her what happened. I was like, this is what I did. So when I was gone, she was like, she would write me and call me and like send me little care packages and stuff and kind of just like keep me updated and just tell me like, keep the faith, like things will work out. It'll be okay. So she helped a lot. And then I remember like calling her and being like, hey, I was in a plane crash. She was like, are you okay? All of that stuff. And I was like, yeah, like it'd be nice if, my husband called me.
So he didn't contact you?
I talked to him after that happened. Yeah.
After the plane crash?
And like occasionally I would talk to him, but it wasn't like frequent. He picked me up from the airport when I got back. And I think he was just so hurt and angry. He thought that all of my friends knew. And
was
they
like hiding it.
Yeah. And nobody knew. I didn't like, it's not like I have friends with integrity clearly. And
yeah, no, we didn't know. So
we tried to work things out after, but that didn't work.
You were unsuccessful with that.
Yeah. So then going to therapy 3 times a week was awesome because I was like, the plane crash is not that big of a deal, but like my personal life is in shambles. So it'd be great to talk about all that stuff.
Right.
And so I honestly felt like I was in a better place mentally when I left Afghanistan than when I got there.
Right. Therapy.
Therapy. Hashtag therapy. So much therapy. And it was amazing. Like it's hard now. It should be so much easier to have access to that.
Yes.
Like I have great insurance and still like
Yes.
with my insurance, they're like, you can go 6 times.
Uh-huh.
Like, what's that going to do?
Exactly. Yes.
What am I going to do with
I have
6?
a lifetime of issues.
Right? 6 times? Like I could talk about my dog at 6 sessions of therapy.
Completely.
So my therapist he was in the military, but he was like a reservist that was on active duty orders over there.
So was it on
he had
Skype
like,
or was it
no,
live?
I went into the hospital there,
That's
into his
awesome.
office and sat on his couch like I was back in the States. He like had his full on like his own practice back in the States. And so he was like a really good therapist.
Yeah. So in your therapy, did you process what led you to cheat on your husband that you really probably wanted to be with?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, thinking back now, we talked about everything. We talked about like we went back to 3 times a week for 5 months. So you talk it all out. Childhood to parents to relationships and everything. Like, why are you doing these things? Why are you like self-destructing, you know? And I mean, clearly you were at my first marriage. You knew like maybe he wasn't the best match for me, but the stuff I put him through was unnecessary. So I felt bad. Apparently, the reason he wasn't calling was because he was fucking everybody when I was in Afghanistan.
Right. He was fucking himself to feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if I feel really bad mostly because I feel like I screwed him over so hard. Like he was broken after that.
You broke a person.
I did.
Yeah.
Was not my finest moment.
So Tamera came back from her deployment different, maybe even better because of her access to mental health care. She learned a lot. And despite all those scary moments, Tamera appreciated her overall military experience. So I wanted to know what she liked the most and what she took away from it.
It was awesome, though. I went all over the world. I meet amazing people. The best thing, by far, the thing I miss the most about not being in the military anymore is just having that camaraderie and having the people that have kind of gone through all of those things with you. And the brotherhood of the military is amazing. I've been out for 2 years now or whatever it is. And the other day, I was on a group text with a bunch of flight nurses because one of them, her daughter was having a baby, so she was going to be a grandma. And so she just like wanted to share that with all of us, you know, just like that. It's nothing to do with the military. It's more like that, you know, being a part of something with other people that even though they come from every background you can imagine, it's just like so inclusive of everyone.
What do you think makes it like that?
I think when you go through the training, having that discipline and kind of understanding what's expected of you, and everyone has that same understanding. Everyone knows, you know, like these are the rules and this is how this works.
Just like puts you on equal footing and on the same team, basically.
Yeah, well, and the way that they train you about like honesty, integrity, like all of those things that you should value, they teach you to value. And then you have all of these people that are kind of like-minded, I guess, in that sense, that they have all of those same values that you have. So even though like people look different and they come from all over, they still, at their core, they call them the core values. They still have like all of those in common. It makes it nice. I don't know. I just feel like you can trust military people. I remember when I was working in the hospital up north on the base, I noticed one day I was like walking down the hall and I saw a pair of like sunglasses sitting on the ledge. Well, 2 days later, they're still sitting there and someone came in and they were like, "Hey, I think I left my glasses. Has anyone seen them?" I'm like, "Yeah, they're still there." Like, it's safe, you know, like people aren't just out to kind of like steal from you or, I don't know, do nasty things. And for the most part, you know, like, of course, not everyone falls into that category, but for the most part, it was just like, you could trust them, you know?
Right. Well, the culture is less about like you being out for yourself. you're out for each other.
Yeah.
You're going to get each other's backs, right?
Yeah.
Which means not stealing each other's sunglasses.
Yes. And that's the perfect way to describe it, because it's like, it's beyond that. It's, you know, if you're in charge of a group of people, you want them to succeed too. So you want them to advance their career and to prosper, and like beyond just their career, you want them to make sure that they're taken care of at home and they have a good family life. And like, if someone's struggling, there's a big push to like reach out and make sure that, you know, you're doing everything you can for them.
You might still have one question. Why did the plane crash?
So there's a big investigation into that. With any plane crash, right? There's always going to be like a big investigation. I think that they found that it was a combination of like weather, like the high winds, and pilot error. So that was rough.
Yikes.
I had to testify a couple times in like different trials, and not like trial like you did something and you're going to jail, but just like, what did you do to our very expensive plane?
After her service, Tamera was an ER nurse for many years. She got her nurse practitioner degree from USC and is now parenting a spunky kindergartner. She still holds to the values that she learned about what inclusive community looks like, that we're in this together, and that we have to take care of one another.